Lately, we've had a trail of nun movies, and here we have The First Omen. So we have The First Omen versus Immaculate. Who's the winner? Well, let's discuss it. Hi everyone, what's up? My name is Ryan, and today on the channel I'm going to be discussing a horror film called The First Omen. Now this film was directed by Arkasha Stevenson, and this is her directorial debut. The film stars Nell Ralph Ineson, Sônia Braga, Maria Caballero, and Bill Nighy, and it's about a young woman named Margaret who devotes her life to the church, and she travels to Rome where she starts to uncover darkness and a conspiracy in which she questions her faith. A little background before going into this movie. Now there are 5 Omen movies and you do not have to see any of them before seeing this movie. I have seen the first 3 in the trilogy and I like the first one and the second one, and I think the third one is terrible. The 4th and the 5th have very bad reviews, so I've stayed away from them. Maybe I'll watch them eventually, but I'm not really too bothered to check those films out. For this film, the marketing was not done very well. They had the teaser trailer, which I only watched. I didn't watch the first trailer, but I did notice that the first trailer did drop about 3 or 4 weeks before this movie was actually coming out, and I think that really hurt this film because it didn't make a lot of money this week at the box office. And then on top of that, I don't think a lot of people really know about this franchise as a whole. The movies came out in the 70s and 80s. They're a little bit older, and I think a lot of the fan base to check this film out, I don't really think they really know too much about the franchise as a whole. So I think the lack of interest here really hurt this movie. And then also the fact that Immaculate just came out. So I think people may be a little bit burnt out by this kind of genre. Now let's begin with the positives. Now the opening scene of this movie, I think it really sets the tone for this movie. It's dark, it's dreary, it feels very creepy, and it has a little bit of gore to it as well. And I love the start of that because it really kickstarts the movie as to what the direction of this movie is going to be. And it was just a good way to really start it off. The music and the score throughout this film, it's absolutely phenomenal. Apparently the person that did do the score in this film, they did the score for The Witch, and I was like, that really makes sense because I definitely felt the dread and the darkness throughout this film. Nell, she plays Margaret in this film, and she travels over to Rome at this church school orphanage where she's going to take her vows. And while she's there, a lot of strange things happen, which I think a lot of people are really expecting that in this film. But one thing I want to caution, if you're going into this film and you're really looking for the horror aspect and a lot of jump scares and someone to come out and go boo, that's not what this film is. It really focuses a lot on the drama of the church. There is some spooky little moments and some horror-esque moments and also some graphic moments, which this film almost got an NC-17 rating for a particular scene in this film. It is done very effectively. A lot of the scarier moments in this film, I think they are effective, although there are parts in this film where some of it is a little bit telegraphed, but I don't think it really takes away from this film. One thing that I think will bug people about this film is the fact of certain pacing in this film, because I think in certain parts of this film there is a little bit of slower pacing in the film, but even though it has that slower pacing, there is something always happening. There's something disturbing going behind the scenes. Margaret tries to mingle with some of the other girls at this school. For instance, she has this girl named Lus, played by Maria Caballero, and she tells her to loosen up, let's go out discoing, go have sex. Why not? Let's just go out and party and just go have fun and let loose. And she's a little bit reluctant to do this, but she does go out eventually. Now, there is a girl that she's very much curious about that apparently is a bad girl, and I'm not really going to go too much in elaborating what that story actually has to really do with what is going on. It does get a little bit into the artsy side. It does have a lot of dream sequences. It has a lot of hallucinations and crazy visions. Comparing it to a little bit of Immaculate here, I do think that different characters are a little bit fleshed out a little bit more. I think within Immaculate, you really just had Sydney Sweeney where they just really focused on her character, but there are other characters that really guide our main character throughout this film, and it does have a mystery sense to it of what is going on and what she's trying to uncover what is happening in this church. And because even though this mystery is interesting, it is a little bit convenient, a little bit easy for our main character to really figure out what is going on. I thought for a church of what was actually going on, really, that they would do a little bit better job of really covering up the secret a little bit more, but it seemed like it was very convenient for our character. But then our main character also, she doesn't really do a good job of covering up what she actually found. And that's really where this film, it's one of those things where you can kind of nitpick those certain things within the film, but it's one of those films that you're just intrigued to keep watching, even though you can really guess what's going to happen, especially if you've seen the first film, because you know exactly where this film is going to be leading to. So in that sense, it's very predictable. Even with that predictability, it doesn't really stop me from really liking this film, because I was very intrigued by the characters and the story overall. The imagery in this film is going to stick with me for a while. There's definitely some elements in here where I was like, I don't know if I've seen that in a horror film, and maybe if I have, it's been a long time, but I think that's what really makes this film very unique. Certain things in here that really makes you just think like, yes, like I'm never going to forget that about this movie. And that's really what makes this film memorable. It has good acting. It has a very good soundtrack, just like the original trilogy as well. And it even has some callbacks to the original film as well. Fans that really like those movies, they're going to really appreciate this film. And I just love overall that this film is a dark film that really combines a lot of different genres like drama, mystery, artsy horror, and imagery that will definitely stick with me for a very long time. And overall, it's a film that I really did enjoy, and I don't really have a lot of gripes with the film overall. So as far as a score for this film, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's a film that really stuck with me, and I think it'll stick with me for a little bit throughout this year. And I think it's one of those films that I think it could be a top horror film for the year for me, because it's one of those films that it definitely had a unique spin on what it was trying to do. And even though you've seen horror films like this where you've seen the church and certain things going on, you're like, yeah, I've seen this crazy stuff that's going on with the church millions of times, I think it does it in a way where it's interesting and you really feel for the atmosphere that's going on. And I just like that it didn't include a bunch of jump scares throughout this movie, and it had a little bit more unique take on what it was trying to do as a story and trying to set up for future films as well. As always, I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think about this film? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? Are you going to check it out in a theater? Are you going to stream it? Or are you going to skip it altogether? Leave any and all comments down below. And if you've seen the original 5 movies or any of those movies, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about those as well. And if you've seen 4 or 5, let me know what you think about those as well, as I have not seen those films. Are they worth me checking out, or should I just skip them altogether? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.